Act 4. Oh, will you just come back to Konoha already? And behind door number 4. 8 years ago. Hey. Neji didn't bother cracking an eye open. He had his Byakugan off specifically to not see his surroundings, but couldn't misinterpret the ultralight footsteps that approached him. Hey. Itachi replied, coming to sit down next to him. The fuck are you doing up here? Neji, again, didn't open his eyes. He was laid out flat on the rooftop of some building in central Konoha, and while he hadn't really been paying attention to his surroundings, he had a rough idea of what things looked like. Dark, he supposed. His internal clock made it 5:47. Couldn't sleep at home. Too loud. He heard Itachi tense. If you tell me your uncle was using that fucking no. Neji cut him off. The caged bird seal is not activated so trivially. But it was a row. What about? Father insulted the hidden cloud. Neji summarized. Big argument at the negotiating table. Hayashi is furious about it. Seems out of character for your dad. Itachi remarked. He had been over and met Neji Hyuuga more than once, and the two got along cordially. It is. But, well, Neji sighed. Father insulted the cloud politician because the cloud politician said, well, it's confusing, but long story short, do you remember that business we got up to in stone? On our first mission? I remember. This all started because of that. It was Itachi's turn to sigh. Are you deadass blaming yourself for this? That's a pretty tenuous connection you're making. But not an incorrect one. Oh, for there was the distinct sound of the Uchiha slapping his forehead. Okay. Open your eyes. Neji scowled. No. Open M. No. I'm still asleep. Leave your damn Byakugan off and open your freaking eyes, or I'm going to cut them open. Neji sighed and complied. To his surprise, it wasn't as dark as he'd thought. The sun had just started to rise, red and yellow light seeping in from the distant horizon. Itachi was sat next to him in his pajamas. Is that it? Did you wake me up so I could appreciate the view? Kinda. Getting motivated by the beautiful sight of your village? No. Didn't think so. Itachi pointed. What's that? That's my compound. Neji replied. The Hyuuga buildings looked as pristine as usual from this distance. And what's in that compound? Father, mother, possibly Uncle Neji trailed off. And? Itachi encouraged. Hinata. Neji muttered. Who cannot, at age whatever it is, scamper off into the village to avoid her parents' shouting match. I thought you were trying to make me feel less guilty? Neji remarked. I'm saying. Itachi replied, exasperating. Maybe you should stop worrying about things that are maybe kinda your fault, and pay attention to what's definitely your responsibility. Neji sighed. Then stood up. I'll go back and check on everyone. Atta boy. Itachi stood up with him. The treaty is going to happen on her birthday. Neji remarked. The one between Cloud and Leaf? Nobody's going to be there for her. Someone will. Itachi pointed out. Neji smiled. Yes. I suppose you're right. Present-day Hinata woke up gradually, over the course of what felt like hours, but was actually only 10 minutes. Even after she became lucid, she felt absolutely no motivation to get up, perfectly content to shift around in place and stretch a little. She usually just viewed lie-ins as wastes of valuable daylight. The same could not be said for baths, but her duvet was feeling exceptionally comfortable today. Why, oh, right. Team 7 had gone to Hinata's compound together, unanimously deciding that they didn't want to be alone after the really hectic day, and once again Naruto's flat had been too small. A whistle-stop, joking tour of the compound had ensued, after which they had agreed not to sleep in any of the other probably haunted bedrooms, and instead set up a sleepover in one of the living rooms. They had then stolen a bunch of pillows and duvets from throughout the compound, lit the fireplace, and sent out shadow clones to scrounge snacks from destroyed shops in the village. There had been smiles, laughs, a discussion on appropriate pajama etiquette, right, yes, nakedness is bad, I'm sorry, damn it, Hinata, learn basic social conventions, and despite Hinata having a genuinely wonderful time, there had been no karmic universal consequence for her being happy. Shocker. It was, in hindsight, an incredibly silly bias to be living under for her whole life, and she was glad to be rid of it. This didn't mean she was going to slack off training, she would have to work harder in fact, but right now Hinata snuggled deeper into the covers and smiled. 10 more minutes. This particular pillow was turning into her new favorite. It was warm and huggable, with nice blonde hair she could what? Squishy, mumbled Naruto, pushing closer to her. Another few seconds passed, where she considered just staying in place, before her panic overrode her other basic driving forces and she let out a yelp, followed by a mad scramble to get out of the sheets that resulted with both her and Naruto hitting the floor with a loud thump. What the he rubbed his eyes blearily. Hinata, what's breakfast? She said as she leapt to her feet, voice higher than usual, with a blush on her cheeks. I was going to make breakfast. How do you like your eggs? In threes. He slithered back into the covers, gathering them around himself again. Morning, Hinata. Hey, don't you have, servants to do that for you? No. She said, casually. It's just me. Naruto looked at her in concern. Alone? You live alone. She got a little defensive. Yeah, but Naruto's limited social skills threw up red flags, but he pushed on. Isn't this where the thing happened? With the I mean if you don't want to, yes. Hinata's voice was clipped. This was where my clan was killed. How would you like your eggs? Sorry. Naruto winced. Nobody ever really talks about it, especially not to me, so it's fine. Hinata's voice had gone emotionless again, as she turned her back and moved towards the kitchen. Neji Hyuuga, prodigy of the branch family, murdered every member of the Hyuuga clan Barmy, roughly 5 years ago. His motivation was never confirmed, but it's believed it was a desire to test his own power and superiority, or anger at the branch system he believed was unjust. The compound was cleaned thoroughly before I moved back in. How would you like your eggs? I'm not hungry. Naruto shot back. Hinata, you've been living here with no one but your family's ghosts for 5 years? Yes. She bit out. You're not okay, are you? No. She whispered. Do you want to talk about it? No. Do you? He paused. Do you want to come back under the covers? Yes. He made room and she slowly walked back to the sofa, before crawling into the duvet. Your compound isn't really right next to my house, is it? Naruto confirmed. No. She replied. Okay. He shrugged. Hinata smiled and snuggled closer to him. The Hokage's funeral was a grand, if muted, affair. Pathetic fallacy had kicked in and a light drizzle fell from a dark gray sky, creating a haze of white noise in the background. Everyone wore black, and it was everyone. All of the great ninja clans had made an appearance, as well as most ninja who weren't on duty, and even a large crowd of civilians. The Umbu, in a rare breach of protocol, all allowed themselves to be seen, standing vigil atop nearby trees or buildings and silently watching the proceedings. Sarutobi Hiruzen had been a well-respected man. Fugaku was right about one thing. Jiraiya muttered, quietly. This is going to cause chaos. The old man has been a staple of the ninja world for decades, now he's gone, the other villages are going to start re-evaluating their positions. Perhaps you were a bit hasty creating your fat porn author persona. Kakashi replied, just as quietly. I know you hate the Hokage job, but we're low on options. Don't suppose you have any powerful enemies you can vanquish right in sight of the whole village? Show off a little? I'll see what I can do. Jiraiya cracked a smile. Hey, I'm his student. I can probably wrangle a speech, use it as an opportunity to show myself, casting off my old vices, be the ninja he wants me to be. We're discussing using your mentor's funeral as a springboard for a promotion. Kakashi shook his head. We are going straight to hell. And the worst part is, he'd be the first to encourage us. Jiraiya sighed. Crazy old bastard. Ah shit, now that's 2 dead Hokage I'm in debt to. Great. Oh well, I'll make it up to them a better way. Really? How's that? Jiraiya just nodded across the crowd, at a trio of children stood with their heads down and hands clasped respectfully before them. You good, Naruto? Sasuke muttered. No. Naruto said back. Should I be? Don't think so. Were you too close? Dunno what I was to him. Naruto shrugged. But I didn't have anyone else, you know? I mean, eventually I had you, and that was great, but for years he was the only one who actually cared about me. Still a little pissed at Jiraiya for never showing up even though he apparently knew my mom. I'm sorry. Hinata told him, from his other side. Why's that? He looked across at her. You didn't do it. You've known what it's like to live without family. Now you know what it's like to lose one. I'm sorry I couldn't spare you it. Hinata's voice was dry. No, I mean, it's like it's not. Naruto sniffed once, and blinked a few times. Well, I've still got you guys, right? He looked sideways at them, and they both nodded. Whatever you need, said Sasuke. Whenever you need it, said Hinata. Despite everything, he beamed. Before they could stop him, he reached an arm around both their shoulders and pulled them close. There was some struggling, but he was still way physically stronger than them, and eventually both relented into the team hug. Thanks, guys. Just thanks. So what now? Sasuke asked. What do we do now he's gone? Naruto looked forwards. Sarutobi Hiruzen's gravestone was a simple thing, a stone cuboid bearing his name, dates of birth and death, and a philosophical quote that could be interpreted as a sex joke if you squinted. It was no bigger than the graves of any other ninja who died defending the village. His will had demanded nothing else. We make him proud, Naruto decided. Then he smiled. And then we meet whoever's keeping the hat warm for me. 1 hour later, so. Game time. Jiraiya clapped his hands together. What Naruto was starting to call the squad, Team 7, Haku, Kakashi, Jiraiya and Itachi, had convened back in Hinata's living room. Are we finally going to explain why I was resisting Fugaku so forcefully back in the council hall? Hinata asked. Because you didn't even spend 30 seconds explaining the situation. I was flying completely blind in there. Hinata has a point. Sasuke added. I know you hate him, bro, but, well, he is my dad. I feel kinda bad. I have my own personal reasons. Itachi admitted. Suffice to say, I will go to great lengths to stop the Uchiha clan taking over Konoha. But if you want something more concrete, then I have something. He reached into his pocket and drew out 2 pieces of paper. Tell me, do you think any of you made Chunin? Naruto's eyes widened. Oh yeah. Completely forgot about that. I assumed the exams were cancelled. Haku mentioned. Not quite. Kakashi explained. Obviously the Naruto or Gaara match was interrupted even though you technically won. Naruto dropped back down into his seat, appeased. Kakashi continued. And they aren't going to hold the final match now, but all the matches up till then still counted, and it would probably be good for publicity to have some people promoted out of this disaster. Problem is, who? Itachi picked up, waving the papers for emphasis. These are the recommendations the 2 Kage wrote down during Naruto's fight with Gaara, which you did win, Naruto, we all believe you. One is just Hinata's and Sasuke's names in big capital letters underlined a bunch of times, but we now know that was Orochimaru. Creepy motherfucker. The other one was written by our Kage, and it lists Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, and Shikamaru as Chunin worthy. Kinda anti-Suna, don't you think? Sasuke muttered. They invaded, they forfeit the exam. Naruto waved him off. So, what? Does that mean we pass? Nope. Itachi grimaced. Sorry team, but the final decision goes to the hosting village's Kage. And we don't have one. But he just... Naruto flailed at the paper, before falling back into a pout. "'S not fair," he complained. "Quite." Kakashi summarized. "The final decision will go to whoever becomes the new Kage. Now, if that's Fugaku Uchiha, we're fucked." Sasuke realized, eyes wide. He pointed to his teammates. "At least, you two are fucked. He hates you both." "We know," they chorused. "And whether or not I pass depends entirely on how pissed he is about my stunt against Hinata. Nope, not having it." Sasuke looked up to Itachi. "Who else is there?" "Ain't that the question?" Jiraiya chuckled. "Well, father did a decent job of outlining the requirements." Itachi explained. "Most important is to be powerful, Kage-level powerful, able to beat up groups of Jonin at once. They need to be intelligent, though that isn't entirely important as they can cede decisions to their staff or the council if they have to. In fact, most records imply the first Hokage wasn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed." Naruto started whistling All-Star. Sasuke slapped him. "And they need to be well known. Appointing a nobody to the position will warrant dismissal and disrespect. So other than Fugaku, option 1 is Itachi side. Me. I'm strong enough, clever enough, well known enough. I don't want to be Hokage, but that's hardly a deciding factor. The problem with me being that the only way they'd choose me over father is, well, it'd be messy. Very messy. Option 2 me." Jiraiya held up a hand. "I'm a Sannin, so everyone knows me, and I've been running a spy ring for the past 20-odd years, so I'm sharp enough. Problem is, I spent those 20-odd years pretending to be a fat drunken old pervert." "Pretending? Oi. Can it, Whiskers?" Jiraiya took a swipe at Naruto, who ducked out of the way. "But yes, my reputation is soured somewhat. The clans would think I'm a joke. And it would probably be good for me to maintain that spy ring I just mentioned, which I can't do as Kage. You want a turn?" Sasuke nodded at Kakashi. He snorted, which did weird things to his half-mask. "Me as Hokage? I'm good, but I'm not." He paused. "Okay, I am that good. I'm tactical-minded, and I'm up there in the bingo book. Sure, why not? Option 3, Kakashi. But I wouldn't be as good as these two, and even Fugaku would be a tough fight for me. If I may." Haku raised a hand. "Am I currently sat in the room with 3 of Konoha's strongest ninja?" The trio looked at each other. "Probably the 3 strongest, yeah." Kakashi agreed. "Oh good. Just wanted to confirm that." Haku sat back down, significantly paler. Anyway, continuing with the Sannin theme, Jiraiya continued. Option 4, Orochimaru. Everyone made a face. "Yeah, better than Fugaku though?" "Maybe." Itachi allowed. "You really hate that guy, don't you?" "But as I said before, everyone knows the Sannin, and there's one we haven't brought up yet." Option 5, the Lady Tsunade. The adults in the room stopped for a moment to consider it. "I know her," Hinata mentioned. "I remember once she beat my father in a taijutsu spar. While drunk." "Sounds about right." Jiraiya chuckled to himself, obviously reminiscing. "See, while I pretend to be a total waste of space, Tsunade is actually a drunken gambling addict. Upside is, because she's not putting it on as a cover, less people know about it, so her reputation isn't completely ruined. Downside is, well, she's a drunken gambling addict. And we want her to be Hokage?" Naruto wrinkled his nose. "Is that a good idea?" "I know her," defended Jiraiya. "If we get her in the office, she'll do the job. And she's a big enough presence that if she shows up, Fugaku will have to back down. Tsunade's probably our best hope. Where's the but? Sasuke rolled his eyes. You're the but. Shut up, Naruto. The but is that I don't know where she is, officially. I can find her, but it'll take me a few weeks. Jiraiya warned. Then get going. Itachi prompted. Father has momentum and influence. If we can't provide an alternative, people will feel pressured to pick someone. Then they'll pick me. Hinata assured, confidently. I'll continue my opposition. I know plenty of incredibly immoral negotiation and manipulation techniques, and I know the law. You'll have as long as you need. Important point. Jiraiya raised a finger, before pointing it to a certain one of the seated. Naruto's coming with me. I am? He is? Never split the party. Sasuke shook his head. We need to keep together. Why should he go with you? Your camaraderie is appreciated. Kakashi noted, dryly. But Jiraiya has good reason. Yeah, the old ninja chuckled. So, reason 1, we're probably going to need some talk, no jutsu. Naruto blinked. You guys do realize that isn't an actual thing, right? Yes it is. Chorused everyone else in the room. And reason 2, well, if he stays he might be inviting the destruction of Konoha. What? Black cloaks. Red clouds. Jiraiya said, darkly. The adults in the room went silent. Violets are blue? Naruto added, hesitantly. You think the Akatsuki's after Naruto? Asked a shocked Kakashi, but Jiraiya ignored him, staring at the children with hard eyes. If you see anyone wearing black cloaks with red clouds, you run. Immediately. You run to the closest out of the people we just listed and you pray you're allowed to escape. They're that bad? Orochimaru was on that list. Naruto gulped. Jiraiya nodded. Orochimaru doesn't have any interest in you. The Akatsuki want to take out your tailed beast. That sounds like a good thing. By killing you. Oh. If he's in the village, he can't always be within a few meters of you. Jiraiya told the other adults. But I can keep him close to me, at least while we see if they want to try anything. Old man Hiruzen was one hell of a deterrent. Then will come too. Sasuke started to get out of his seat, but Itachi held up a hand. You and Hinata are needed here. If he gets back and you've let Fugaku be elected, he'll have wasted his trip. Then I'll go. Haku declared. Everyone looked at him, and he shrugged. What? I don't have any reason to be here. And Tsunade's a medical ninja, I'd be interested to learn some of what she knows. Aren't you supposed to be under a restraining order? Kakashi pointed out. I haven't had a breakdown in weeks. Defended the mist ninja. Fair enough. Shrugged Kakashi, before bitterly remarking, hey, at least we don't have to clear it with the Hokage. The next morning Naruto, Jiraiya, and Haku met at the village's entrance. You not going to say goodbye to your team? The Sannin asked. Nah, they're still talking to a shadow clone of me. The Nine-Tails grinned cheekily. Figured I'd leave them someone to talk to over the next few weeks. Atta boy. Jiraiya turned on his heel. Now, we're going to run it from here to the next village, but after then we'll be slowing down. Make it more obvious we aren't a threat, and it gives me time to check up on my intelligence network. Got it. Naruto stretched, shouldering his bag. You sure you want to do this, old man? You might not be able to keep up with us. Jiraiya sighed forlornly and put a hand to his forehead. Alas, you have a point. I suppose and then he was gone. Naruto glanced at Haku, then off down the road, where a trail of dust carried into the middle distance. We probably should have expected that. Haku pointed out. They both took off running. Trust me, Kisame, said Neji Hyuuga, watching Naruto leave the village. I can see him with my Byakugan. He's definitely still in the village. Eyes to see you. Oh, boy. This is when the FIC gets really started. You what? Jiraiya skidded to a stop in the middle of the road. Cool chain things. Naruto reiterated. He had just been explaining his fight with Gaara. They were like blue-yellow, and where they touched Gaara the sand fell off. Holy Jiraiya turned around and started gesturing at nothing in particular. I don't believe it. It's like she's come back to haunt me. First calling me out on my research, now the chains, what's next? Huh? Is he gonna start waving kitchen implements at me? Haku looked on in amusement. Old man? Naruto asked. Jiraiya sighed and turned back around. Sorry. All this time I thought you were your dad's kid through and through, but it turns out there's more of your mother in you than expected. He squinted off into the distance. A settlement was just barely visible on the horizon. We'll stop here for a breather, then continue on. We should be at the next village before sunset. Haku and Naruto followed his lead, sitting next to him on the side of the road. Your mother, as I've said, was Uzumaki Kushina. Jiraiya began. And no, I'm still not telling you who your dad was. Now the Uzumaki clan used to have their own damn hidden village, and it was shaping up to be just as prominent as the other 5. Trouble is, at some point a bunch of the other villages banded together to take them down. As a clan they're formally disbanded, and their survivors and descendants scattered over the world. Most, like Kushina, ended up in the Leaf, but you can find them anywhere. I once met this kid, Nagato Kami. I don't even know what happened to him. Why were they destroyed? Asked Haku. Surely they can't have been more of a threat than the Hyuuga or Uchiha. Jiraiya wagged a finger. That's where you're wrong, little girl. Boy. Okay, sure. See, the Uzumaki, officially, don't have a bloodline limit, at least not one you'd recognize. But you can loosely categorize bloodline limits into 3 types: dojutsu, eye powers, combination nature transformations, like Haku here's ice, made from water and wind, and body transformations. Most body transformations are frankly hella gross, so that's not what the Uzumaki were labeled as. Jiraiya leaned back and held up 3 fingers. The Uzumaki were feared for 3 main reasons. 1. Their skill with sealing jutsu. We'll have to wait and see if you have any talent, Naruto, but knowing your parents, it'll be a miracle if you don't. The second is their incredible constitution. You heal fast, you live long, you're real tough, and you have massive chakra reserves, like the Senju. He flicked Naruto on the nose. You being able to make 1,000 shadow clones is partially because of the Kyuubi forcing its massive chakra reserves through your coils, but that's only possible because of how bulky you and your clan is. Ha! Naruto looked down at himself, clenching his fingers. And the third thing, Jiraiya continued, doesn't show up in every Uzumaki. I'd only ever seen it in Kushina. The adamant chakra chains. A sealing jutsu, but not one that requires any paper or ink. They're nearly indestructible chains that can suppress chakra, which is as scary as it sounds. Like Hinata's gentle fist? Naruto asked. Similar. Jiraiya agreed. Not much use in blocking a fireball, obviously, but wrap someone up and you can stop them emitting chakra. They helped Kushina keep the Kyuubi in check. Her seal wasn't as good as yours. My mom was the old 9 tails? Naruto gaped. Jiraiya chuckled. Damn right she was. Why do you think you got chosen for the job? Whoa, so Naruto can use the chains too? Haku spoke up. Apparently. Jiraiya shrugged. Well, squirt? Can you? I think so. Naruto picked out a boulder a few meters away and pointed his hands towards it. Both times it wasn't like I wanted to kill Gaara. I just wanted him held. Restrained. A kinda yellow light flashed. The chains appeared around his arms and flew forwards, wrapping around the boulder. He laughed. Got it. Oh, this is so cool. Here. Haku stood up and put his hands together. In front of Naruto, a mirror manifested, floating above the floor like the ones he had created on the bridge. This is reinforced by my chakra. Try and break it. Without using the kyubi, please. Naruto rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck, and blurred forwards. The punch was hard, and struck the mirror with a loud ring, but Naruto still stumbled backwards, hissing, with bruised knuckles. The mirror wasn't even scratched. Now try using the chains on it. Jiraiya directed. Naruto nodded and did as instructed. With an effort that was getting easier each time, he threw out the chains to encircle the mirror. It lost some of its luster and immediately stopped floating. This time, when he punched it, it shattered like regular ice. Awesome. He breathed. This would have been so useful on the bridge. Jiraiya stood up again, brushing himself off. I gotta admit, Naruto, I don't have the foggiest how to train you in bloodline limits, so you'll have to work on it yourself. Some sensei you are. Naruto muttered. Anyway, break time's over, kiddies. What? We didn't have a break. I did. Jiraiya grinned cheekily. I'm the old man, remember? He took off running. Naruto and Haku looked at each other, sighed, and chased after him. Two Akatsuki walked through the streets of Konoha. Two wide-brimmed hats and a heaped spoonful of genjutsu concealed their faces, and the black cloaks embossed with red clouds they sported weren't well known enough to give them away. 300 meters. One said to the other. He's in a run-down apartment near to the Perfect. Problem? Asked the other. We've been spotted. The one replied. Things are about to get loud. Itachi dropped down onto the pavement alongside Kakashi. In front of them was a river, and on the other side of that river were two of the most dangerous ninja in the country. Your genjutsu's getting better, Neji. He called across the flowing water. It almost took me a second to spot you. Itachi greeted a calm voice. Still a lapdog for the village, I see. Woof. Deadpanned the Uchiha. How are we playing this? Kakashi asked from beside him. I have a shadow clone looking for any jonin it can find. You slow down, Kisame. Itachi replied. Neji's mine. The following events would go on to happen very fast. Neji was halfway across the river before Kakashi, still busy pulling off his headband to reveal his Sharingan, could react. Fortunately, he had support. Itachi's hands were at his mouth in moments, and without appearing to even make seals, he was blasting a great fireball to hit Neji dead center of the river. Neji spun into a rotation. The result was kinda like what happened when Sasuke fought Hinata. Except a little bigger. A column of swirling fire tore up into the sky, towering over all the surrounding buildings. The water around the rotation churned and boiled from the heat and movement, causing steam to rise up and obscure the area. Kakashi used that cover and darted across the chaotic water's surface to charge Kisame. The big, blue, behemoth of a man reached behind himself and drew a large, incredibly conspicuous bandage thing. To nobody's great surprise, it was Samahata. Kakashi pulled out, switching to a lightning jutsu that shot out of his hands towards Kisame, but the giant sword came up and consumed the attack, scales rustling ominously as it did so. That's not very fair. Kakashi switched to throwing kunai and explosive tags. On the river, the battle would be unobservable for any normal ninja. Two blurs darted around the water's surface, constantly clashing and separating, as said surface was constantly shredded by blades, impacted by explosions, and occasionally transformed into something else for an attack. There were roughly 4 layers of genjutsu occurring at any given moment. Itachi blocked a palm strike with his sword and used an explosion of water beneath him from a previous jutsu to catapult him into the air. He span, upside down, until he was facing Neji. His Sharingan pattern shifted. Amaterasu, he declared. Black flames exploded into existence upon the Hyuga's body, completely engulfing him, and Itachi landed to watch the ultimate fire technique lick hungrily at Neji's form. Neji did not completely lose control of his chakra and fall into the river. He didn't even deliberately go underwater to try and put out the flames, not like that would work. He stood stock still atop the river's surface. And then, beneath the flames, cracks appeared. Kakashi paused in his attack of Kisame to gape as Neji's exterior fell off. Revealing itself to be something hard and white, glinting like opal, shards dropped from Neji's body into the river, taking the effects of the Amaterasu with it. The Hyuga stretched his arms, casually. His eyes were white. Not the usual white circles in the center of his sclera, pure white. They were an oval of ivory reflecting perfectly, and swirls of the same color and texture spread out across his face. "The fuck?" whispered Kakashi. "Gokiai Byakugan." Ground out Itachi. He charged. He flung his sword straight forwards, and when Neji slapped it out of the way he went in for a grab. They both caught hold of each other's hands, heads inches from each other. Their eyes met. Tsukiyomi. Kokosora. It was impossible to tell which one spoke first. Then Itachi collapsed into the water unconscious as Neji stumbled backwards, shaking his head as if to clear some confusion. Shit. Kakashi jumped across, snatching Itachi out of the water and running for the opposite bank. Kisame moved to intercept, but was blocked by Sarutobi Asuma, catching the massive broadsword on two chakra-enhanced daggers. Kurenai dropped down in front of Neji and began weaving Jinjutsu around him as rapidly as she could. A couple more ninja appeared beside them as well, high-ranking Uchiha police, as other jonin started appearing on nearby rooftops. Neji sighed. Kisame, they moved the target. Fall back. He waved a hand and Kurenai stumbled backwards as if struck, then his body flickered away. Kisame grunted, batted Asuma off, and fled into the trees. Konoha's finest all independently decided not to pursue. Is he okay? Four of the jonin crowded around the unconscious Itachi. He's breathing, but he's limp. Kakashi muttered. 3 possibilities: 1, he'll be fine when he wakes up in a few seconds, 2, he's a vegetable. 3, anything in between. Kami, what the hell did that bastard do? Kurenai grimaced. Itachi used his bullshit hack Sharingan Jinjutsu that lets him mentally torture someone for days in the space of a few seconds, usually putting them in a coma. Kakashi explained. Neji did something back. N1. How? The Byakugan can't do anything like this. Asuma growled, gesturing to Itachi. Well, neither can most Sharingan. Kakashi admitted. Damn. Kurenai summarized. I'll take him to the hospital, one of you can notify his father. Jinjutsu, huh? She was a specialist. She knew all sorts of sneaky tricks one could perform by messing with another's perceptions. She'd never tried to use it to mentally bludgeon someone unconscious. I wonder what kind of sick, monstrous things they did to each other 1 minute earlier. Itachi appeared in his mindscape and grinned, knowing that Tsukiyomi had taken hold. The sky was red, black cross-looking things dotted the dirt at his feet, and some distance in front of him stood Neji. Itachi teleported to right in front of him. He could do whatever he wanted in his own mind, and cocked his head, regarding the missing nin silently. Neji didn't move. You seem oddly reticent. Here you are with me at your absolute mercy, and yet you do nothing. Oh, I'm sure you've thought long and hard about being at my mercy. Itachi replied, threateningly. So long spent out alone with nothing but a gaggle of murderers for company, they stared at each other again. Gay. Remarked Neji. Itachi's mouth twitched. Then both broke down into raucous laughter. Itachi waved his hand, and their surroundings changed to something more comfortable. The red sky and plains switched for a view of Konoha's skyline, leaving both now stood on a rooftop they had liked to meet at when they were younger. Then he walked forwards and grabbed Neji in a hug. The Hyuga reciprocated, squeezing Itachi tightly. It's good to see you, he said, smiling. You too, Itachi admitted. Fuck, it's been too long. I agree, Neji enthused. The other day they said someone should go try and get the Kyuubi and I thought Konoha? Yes, please. How's the Mangekyo? It'll hurt like a bitch tomorrow morning, but I'm not blind yet. Itachi reassured, letting go. How's the Gokii? Started to lose feeling in my fingers and toes. Neji sighed. Shit, dude, sorry. No, you did well. We needed to show them the Akatsuki's still a threat. Itachi snapped his fingers and a pair of chairs and a table appeared on the tiles next to them, and he sat down with a sigh. And now that you've tanked the Amaterasu, they'll believe it. I know, but it sucks. Plus I'm about to not fall into a coma after the Tsukiyomi, should scare those in the know. Neji sat down. But I should warn you, I don't have quite as much control over the Kokosora. When we leave here, you're about to have a good day or so of, well, total sensory deprivation. Ass. My bad. Anyway, how's Sasuke? How's Hinata? Itachi sighed. It's a long story. Well, we've got a whole 2 seconds. Neji pointed out. Witty. Yeah, I doubt you'll want the whole 72 hours, so we've got as long as we need to talk. Short answer, they're doing really well, actually. Really? Yeah. Your sis still hates you, good. Enough of that shit. But you know the little blondie she was crushing on? Yes. My target. Yeah, him. Well, they're on a team together, with Sasuke. And they're actually getting along. Sure, Hinata and Sasuke tried to kill each other in the Chunin exams, but they what? They're both massive edgelords when they feel like it. Itachi chuckled. But they've gotten close, they're helping each other out, I think they'll pull through if they stick together. Who knows, they might qualify as mentally healthy if we give them a few years. Great, now I've definitely got to botch this mission. Neji tooted. Is Naruto still with Jiraiya? Because if he is, I can pretend I'm outmatched and retreat. Should be. They're going after Tsunade, trying to make her become Hokage. You should see Hinata, she's going up against Fugaku in politics like this 4-foot-tall demon lawyer. Neji's eyes lit up. Really? Okay, hold on. Double agent meeting first. Then you show me all the important details about my little sister. Deal. Itachi smiled. So, first of all, who's even in the Akatsuki? Family reunion. The Hyuuga family is made up of one nuclear family and usually anywhere from 2 to 5 branch families at any given time. Its small size relative to other clans such as the Aburame or Uchiha, despite its unwillingness to undergo the barbaric, incestual practices sometimes seen in those clans, is due in the most part due to the caged bird seal. The Uchiha do not incest, witties. Then explain why I see you meeting up with Izumi, she is twice removed, asshole. The caged bird seal is applied to the foreheads of all branch family members at age 3. In the main family, all but the eldest heir are also branded at that age, with that heir locked into position as the next head of the Hyuuga family. Your family is barbaric. I know. The seal's primary purpose is to immediately denature and eliminate the special properties of the Byakugan from its owner upon death, or upon its removal from the owner's body. This is a security measure to prevent its capture by hostile hidden villages or missing nin who might want to steal it. Those branded with the seal can have children with the Byakugan, but those children will not be able to produce children in turn with the Byakugan. In other words, after the seal is applied, only that individual and their immediate children will have the eye. This is to preserve the sanctity of the main branch, but is also another security measure. Should a Hyuuga defect or be captured and not choose suicide, they will not be able to spread the Byakugan for more than one more generation. The seal also facilitates several other specialty jutsu that target those branded specifically, designed as control measures for disobedient branch members. These include the caged bird feeding, which allows the caster to give or drain chakra remotely, caged bird gouged eyes, which preemptively activates the seal and blinds the branded, caged bird clipped wings, which causes paralysis and debilitating pain, and caged bird unlatched, which instantly kills the branded individual. This can be cast by the branded as a suicide jutsu. Fuck, dude. It should be noted that the caged bird seal is a simple yet implacable seal that cannot be removed by any known technique. It only vanishes upon the branded individual's death, and any attempts to remove the seal will likely result in them dying anyway. Basic summary of the caged bird seal, Hyuga's official bloodline limit tome. Scribbles, by Assorted. 97, 98, 99, 500, 500, 1, 2, 3. Is this usual behavior for you? Naruto Prime was doing press-ups in the center of the room Jiraiya had rented. Naruto 2, 3, and 4 were sat on top of him. Yeah, he said, breathlessly, as 2 continued to count. Most days I'm training with Guy, so whenever I fail to do that I have to put some work in separately. Am I bothering you? Haku, sat in the corner, watched Naruto's muscles flexing as he continued. Nope. You do you. Don't stop. Naruto's 5, 6, and 7 were also training, in their case with the chakra chains. The room was crisscrossed with the golden links, as the clones shot them out in all directions at every opportunity. Where is Jiraiya, anyway? Haku asked. I know Zabuza would have been scouting the area. He had the acronym LEAF, funnily enough check for law enforcement, escape routes, altitude variance, and friendlies. He'd check for all 4 every time he stopped somewhere. Cool. Naruto 5 enthused. Jiraiya's probably out looking for girls. Oh. Yeah, he's a massive pervert. There was a knock on the door, and Naruto 6 hopped up to answer it. About time, Ero-sensei. You'd better not have brought along company because we don't have enough rooms for a slumber party. The man at the door was not Jiraiya. He was a tall, lean man with a black cloak wrapped around him that sported red clouds. His hair was black with hints of dark blue, and 2 strands of it framed his face while the majority fell down behind his head. A leaf headband with a long, deliberate line cut into it was attached to his forehead, and below it were 2 eyes. Hyuga eyes. Naruto 6 ran through the checklist of living Hyuga in his head, and cross-referenced it with his Akatsuki database. This is one of the moments where I'm completely outmatched, isn't it? He mentioned. Quite. Said Neji Hyuuga. Naruto Prime reached for the chakra that powered his chains, and then he was unconscious. Earlier that morning, witty comebacks? Check. Fear-mongering? Check. Poorly veiled insults as to his political integrity? Check. Then that should be everything. Sasuke smiled and straightened his tie. Their current mission was just as vital as any other to the success of the Leaf Village, but one that required a suit rather than a flak vest. His cursed seal chafed against the collar. Hinata was dressed up too, in an incredibly impractical dress that was nonetheless absolutely stunning. They had together come up with a theory that the fashion was deliberately restrictive, specifically designed to limit ninja killing each other over the negotiating table. This is going to be an outright war. Sasuke sighed. Trying to keep all of the clans united against father, it's a kind of war I've been training for since I was 5, but still. Same here. Hinata agreed, flicking irritably at the fabric covering her curse mark. But what I really wonder is there was a boom. They both turned to see a massive tower of swirling fire blasting up into the sky. They shared a glance, and then both leapt towards the disturbance. By the time they got there, it was already over. Ambu covered the scene, as well as a few other curious ninja drawn by the sight, and it was obvious from the terrain a battle had taken place. Sasuke spotted a familiar face, and ran up. Excuse me, Kurenai-sensei? What happened? An attack. The Jonin may normally have been hesitant to reveal the information, but right now she was clearly shaken up by something. Neji Hyuuga and another man, in black cloaks with red clouds. They were after something, but they left before they could find it, whatever it is. The woman shook her head and vanished. Sasuke turned to Hinata with wide eyes. Akatsuki. He whispered. Neji. She whispered back. Then, as one, Naruto. Kisame, mildly infuriated, swiped at another Naruto with Samahata. Neji, can you help with this? I am helping. Neji replied. I'm carrying the prisoner. Neji had successfully rendered Naruto insensate and pulled him over his shoulder. He had, however, forgotten to deal with all the other shadow clones, which had then summoned even more. The result was he and Kisame wading their way through a sea of obnoxious genin desperately trying to recover their creator. He was more than capable of striking down any clone that got too close, and throwing a shuriken through any that tried to sneakily substitute with the unconscious Naruto, but it was really annoying. Adding to the chaos was the strange ice boy who had immediately broken into a screaming fit along the lines of "You fucking bastards, how dare you, I won't let any more of my masters be taken away from me, you hear me, etc., with tears running down his cheeks as he bombarded the duo with Senbon. Getting fed up with this, Kisame shouldered Samehada and made a few hand seals. Water bullet jutsu. A massive bolt of liquid flew through the corridor to peg the black-haired child only to freeze solid, creating a wall of ice across the hallway. Ha! Mumbled Kisame. Then that wall blasted forwards into dozens of shards of ice heading for the Akatsuki pair. Kisame redrew Samehada and span it, creating an impenetrable wall for the projectiles to shatter against, then he darted forwards and grabbed the child around the throat. "Can I kill the ice girl?" he called over his shoulder. "Boy." Neji replied, still fending off the Naruto clones. "And sure, if you have to." "Wait, this is a boy OW." While he was distracted, the boy had encased Kisame's arm in a layer of ice. When he flexed his arm to shatter the offending covering, he lost grip on his prisoner, who jumped free. Demonic Ice Mirrors Jutsu. Neji watched the chakra weave itself around him, taking form as a series of, well, demonic-looking mirrors made of ice. Interesting bloodline limit. He complimented, as the boy vanished into the surface of the mirrors. Interesting, but the child leapt from a mirror behind his right shoulder, and he darted a hand out to catch him in the throat. Haku crumpled to the floor, stunned, as Neji walked up to the mirror directly in his way. "Insufficient." "No," mumbled the boy, desperately trying to get up, even though the tenketsu in his neck was blocked, meaning he'd lose consciousness any moment. "Don't take him away from me, oh I won't." Tilting his head slightly, Neji put one of his fingers against a certain spot and pushed. The mirror cracked and fell apart. The view beyond it, to an ordinary person, would have just been a hallway ending with a window. "Here." Neji shrugged off Naruto for Kisame to catch. "These next are mine." Kisame, well used to Neji's enhanced vision, just nodded and grabbed Naruto's limp form. The Hyuuga, in one smooth movement, cleared out every other Naruto clone in the hallway, just in time to be stood silently watching the window crash in. His heart nearly stopped when he saw Hinata. Oh look, she has grown. Though that may have been the effect of her wearing a dress that had been summarily torn apart for greater mobility. "You!" she screamed, practically flying through the corridor with energy pulsing around her. "And there are the gates Itachi mentioned." Impressive. He caught the flying kick she launched at his head. "Hello, cousin," he remarked. She twisted out of his grip and launched another round of strikes that he blocked with painful ease. "Still too slow," he remarked, sighing, before planting a foot in her chest and pushing. She went sprawling back into the corridor, a corridor that immediately filled with fireballs courtesy of the other child, Sasuke. Neji put some chakra in his hands and swept them out of the air, batting them back towards the Uchiha with much higher velocity. One caught him in the shoulder and he hissed, throwing off the now burning upper half of his garments. "Not at your brother's level yet, it seems," Neji tooted. Then Hinata was making hand seals again, with an accuracy that spoke of hours upon hours of practice. It hurt, the sequence he knew she was attempting, but he supposed he couldn't blame her for learning it. He waited, as she finished the seals and thrust her hands out towards him. Caged bird, clipped wings jutsu. There was a pause. Kisame chuckled from behind Neji. "I trust you didn't think it would be that simple to change your fate," he remarked, offhandedly. What, but, how Hinata was shaking. Deciding to dispense with the suspense, Neji reached up to his headband and lifted it up. No. It was impossible. She lived in a world where people could breathe fire and walk on water, weave illusions and summon great monsters. But this couldn't be done. She knew it couldn't be done. When Neji lifted up his forehead protector, cut into to show his betrayal of the village, it revealed his forehead. A blank forehead. The same pale pink as the rest of his skin. So where the fuck was the caged bird seal? Sasuke glanced across at her, and she realized she had said it aloud. Why would I wear a mark demonstrating my subservience to the Hyuuga? Asked Neji, rhetorically. I threw off those shackles years ago. Not all shackles can simply be thrown off. She shouted, traumatized. The caged bird seal only breaks upon death. How did you still so set in your ways? Neji tooted. You, the one I've chosen to challenge me? I too once believed that some things could never be done, but I soon learned that was folly. There is only one fate, one future, one true world line. But we hardly know that now. We can only believe. And the universe does not care what you believe to be impossible. He flexed his fingers. Allow me to demonstrate. The alarm bells rang in her head, but she did not have time to react before Neji appeared in front of her. She didn't see his hands move, but she felt her body stiffen as Neji turned around to grasp Sasuke round the back of the neck. His hand covered the Uchiha's curse mark. Hirajakoma. He muttered, calmly. And Sasuke screamed. No! Hinata cried, straining to move as Sasuke writhed against Neji's grip, but she could see which tenketsu her cousin had hit. He had completely immobilized her from the neck down. You bastard, you can't take him too, Kisame. Neji warned, not letting go. On your left. The shark man turned, and Hinata, remembering to pay attention to her Byakugan, let out a surprised gasp. Neji's warning came too late, as Naruto, still resting on Kisame's shoulder, poofed out of existence, to be replaced by a small green toad. Said toad then slapped Kisame around the face, and dispelled itself. That was when Jiraiya appeared from around the corner, with Naruto over one shoulder and some random woman over the other. Appealing to my perversion ultima, are we? He gave a hearty belly laugh. While your offering is appreciated, Jiraiya the gallant would never take liberties with a girl under Jinjutsu. It's like you weren't even trying. Almost. Neji agreed. He released Sasuke's neck, and the boy crumpled to the ground. Oh damn, that's one of the Sannin. Kisame growled, turning to face the new threat. I'm not sure if we're a match for him. Don't be ridiculous, we could tot. Neji paused. I mean, yes, I'm not sure we're a match for him either. For a moment, Hinata was hopeful. Jiraiya slapped his palms to the ground. Toadmouth Binjutsu. Hinata, for the life of her, couldn't tell if it was a Jinjutsu or not. The wooden walls of the corridor were replaced with some sticky pink substance that looked not unlike the gullet of some great monster. Neji and Kisame tensed. Flee? Offered the latter. For now. The former agreed. Keep trying, Hinata. You're making progress. With that, the pair vanished down a side corridor. Jiraiya didn't follow them to check his jutsu's success. He ran straight across the trio of teens immobilized on the floor. You three all right? What did he do? I'm paralyzed. Hinata admitted, in a daze. A gentle fist technique. It should wear off on its own in a few minutes. There was a boom from down the corridor, and Hinata winced, preparing to tell Jiraiya what she'd just seen. She didn't need to. He grimaced and put his hands together, dispelling whatever technique he'd put on their surroundings. They've escaped. Continue. Naruto and Haku are both victims of Tenketsu strikes, both should wake up soon. She explained, vocal cords taut. Sasuke is I don't know what that was. The Uchiha had reached a kneel and put his hand to the back of his neck, but his expression was one of wonder rather than pain. The curse mark. He whispered, removing his hand to show them. It's gone. Don't you dare try to guilt-trip me. Sasuke sat at Itachi's bedside. Hinata stalked forwards and backwards across the room. It was not a comfortable moment. He shipped us off. I know. He attached us to a toad and just sent us home. I know. We should go back. If I summon 2 owls consecutively, they should have the stamina to catch us up with them, no? Excuse me? Sasuke turned to her, eyes hard. No. We stay here. We can't, just my brother. Sasuke cut in, angrily. Is in a coma. And I didn't even know because we went off half-cocked with no backup to fight 2S rank missing Nin. And because we did so, my father was in council for 2 hours this morning with no opposition. How can you? Hinata was facing him down now. Sasuke, your teammate just nearly, don't you fucking dare try and guilt trip me. Sasuke stood abruptly, walking up to her. It was just like Orochimaru in the forest. Your cousin could have killed both of us before we'd even gone in through that window. The only reason we're still alive is because he wanted to toy with us. He stepped back, sighing. Funny thing, now the curse mark was gone, his anger bled out way quicker, leaving him just tired. Look, what are the 2 things you want most? Neji dead. She answered, immediately. Then she paused. And Naruto, yeah, I know. Sasuke rolled his eyes. So. You're not as strong as Neji yet, don't get mad, you'll kick his ass someday, but you're not there right now. So going out there and accompanying them won't help you. As for Naruto, the best thing you can do for him right now? It's make sure he isn't risking his life and wasting his time. He put a hand on her shoulder. Stay here. Do some politics. So when Naruto gets home, we can all keep moving forwards. Hinata looked down at the floor, hands clenched. He just cheats. She bit out. First the owls, then the seal. How do I beat someone who keeps doing the impossible? Start doing it yourself. Sasuke suggested. Outmaneuvering the head of the biggest clan in Konoha probably looks impossible, doesn't it? Hinata took in a deep breath. All right. A few weeks. By the time Naruto's back, I'll have Fugaku on a leash. That's odd phrasing. No, you've just spent too long around Itachi. She smiled at him. And aren't dramatic speeches Naruto's thing? I picked up a few things. Sasuke shrugged. Do you want a hug? No. Okay. A little one. Okay. Uzumaki Naruto was in love. It had taken him a long time to realize this fact, worryingly long, when the object of his affections had been so close for so long. He pondered, briefly, on what love really meant. Was it a physical attraction? Because if so, he was definitely smitten there. Or was it something more tied to personality? A respect for someone's drive, an appreciation of their quirks? He felt all those too. In the end, he decided that it was something deeper than all that. True love was understanding what someone was. It was when you gazed into their soul, witnessed their true purpose, and found it the most beautiful thing in the world. Naruto? You in there? Beautiful, Naruto murmured. Jiraiya coughed. Well, anyway. That was the Rasengan. And her name's as beautiful as her face, the boy sighed, dreamily, looking at the massive hole the technique had drilled into the cliffside. If he looked at me like that, I might actually pounce on him. Haku mused from a safe distance. Your father's technique. Jiraiya explained. Pure shape transformation, a sphere of concentrated chakra with one of the highest attack potencies in my arsenal. She's perfect, Naruto whispered. Well, not quite. Jiraiya admitted. You take that back. She gets better. Jiraiya reassured him. Ah crap, now you've got me doing it. Yeah, it's still an incomplete technique. Your pops never managed to apply nature transformation to it to make it elemental. Kakashi tried, failed, and made the Chidori, which speaks volumes about what it's supposed to be able to do. Every time you mention my dad, he's doing something awesome. Naruto pointed out. He must have been one hell of a ninja. He was, kid. Jiraiya smiled. He definitely was. Well, teach me the beautiful murder jutsu. All right, fine. So the first thing you need to learn, that is the most adorable thing I have ever seen. Sasuke and Hinata broke apart at the speed of highly trained and highly embarrassed ninja, as the new arrival in the room put a hand up to her mouth and laughed. Byakugan? Sasuke hissed. I was distracted. Hinata shot back. Rule 1 of dojutsu, don't become over-dependent on it. The stranger agreed, walking over to Itachi. She had unremarkable long brown hair and eyes, and a mole beneath one eye. She reached into a pocket and drew out a very specific flower, sliding it into a vase in the coma patient's bedside. Sasuke and Hinata, both well-trained in clan formalities, knew what it meant. Not to be rude, Sasuke began, but who are you and why are you giving my brother the unrequited love flower? It's an in-joke. She explained. He has a bit of a history of ignoring me, and then he went ahead and got himself put in a coma. Which doesn't really answer your question. She looked up and smiled. I suppose you could say I'm his girlfriend. Sasuke looked at her blankly. Huh. He certainly kept that quiet. He would have had to. She sighed. Part of the reason we first bonded was because neither of us really got on with the clan while we were growing up. Analyzing processing, you're an Uchiha? Sasuke exclaimed, surprised. She didn't have the signature black hair, nor was she wearing the clan symbol anywhere on her person. Technically. She responded, wiggling one hand in a so-so motion. Mom was a member, but Dad wasn't, so I'm in a strange limbo of them not wanting to acknowledge that I exist. Hinata had a different issue. Wait, the Uchiha, other Uchiha? Wouldn't that be in Zeno? Sasuke and the stranger both replied in unison, frantically. Big clan. Bloodline purity. Sasuke explained. It's, not weird, I swear. This happens regularly? Hinata wrinkled her nose. You know, the Byakugan doesn't have to rely on kissing cousins to maintain its purity. Neither does the Sharingan, but I suppose it must be easier to maintain a weaker bloodline. Sasuke sniffed. The Byakugan is not a weaker bloodline. It so is. I'm sorry, who won the exam finals? You only won because I forfeit. I could have killed you at the end. They're easy for you to say now. They both stopped, as the stranger started laughing again. Oh, dear. You two sound just like Itachi and Neji. The temperature in the room dropped by about 10 degrees. Which was a little insensitive, I'm sorry. Tell you what, if you'd like I can train with you while Itachi's out like this? Temporarily, of course. He's far too stubborn to stay out of the fight for long. Sasuke frowned. No offense, miss, but we don't even know your name. Right, my bad. She gave them a wave. My name's Izumi. Izumi Uchiha. Some days later, the Lady Tsunade was having a very good day, and it terrified her. She was not a lucky person. Years of gambling had taught her this. She wasn't a poor gambler, experience had taught her how to read others, when to call and when to bluff, etc. But her cards just sucked. Always. Perpetually. Every time. There were very few times in her life when she had gotten a good run of luck in the gambling den. They had invariably preceded the absolute worst periods of her entire life. Which was why when she threw down a royal flush, again, all she could do was sigh, mutter a half-hearted good game to her shocked competitors, and stand up with her winnings. That was amazing, my lady. Shizune, ever loyal, came running up to congratulate her. With this, we can pay off all your debts. Sure. Tsunade shrugged. And I know you want to spend it on weight, what? Shizune blinked. You will? Of course. Tsunade dumped a large majority of the money into her assistant's hands. I get the feeling I might want to tie up some loose ends. You pay off the asshats, I'm going to get a drink. That's more like you. The younger woman chuckled. I'll meet you at the usual place, then? The usual place being the nearest pub, one she had gotten used to visiting over the last few months. She sat down, ordered some sake, and waited. After a few minutes, the door chimed, and a familiar head of white hair poked through. "Oh, I hate being right." So then I said, "What do you mean there's paint on the Hokage monument? I wasn't even near there." And then Iruka said, "Naruto? What? We're here." The genin paused in his dramatic retelling of one of the greatest tales in prank history. Jiraiya grabbed him by the hand and nodded towards one of the booths. A blonde-haired woman sat there, nursing a bottle of alcohol alone. "That her?" Haku asked, from Jiraiya's other side. "That's her." The man nodded. His face was drawn, mouth in a thin line. It was obvious the reunion was emotional for him. "You two wait here for now. This is going to have to be done carefully, with no small amount of tact and possibly bribery. Leave the introductions to me." With nods from both children, he walked over to Tsunade's booth. She didn't look up as he sat down. "This is the fourth suspect I've searched trying to find you." He began, searching for a reaction. He didn't get one. Attempt 2. Though he squinted at the label on the drink in front of her. "This place has better taste than the others." He reached for the neck of the bottle. Her hand clamped across his the moment he reached it. "Listen, and I'll buy you another," he offered, trying not to show how much her grip was hurting him. Slowly, she relaxed her grip, leaning back in the chair and taking a look at him. "Jiraiya," she said, eventually. "You've got fat." "Fatter," he corrected, taking the bottle for himself and swigging from it. "But you look exactly the same. Still under that transformation technique?" "I don't know what you're talking about." She demurred with a smile, taking the bottle back off him. "This is just natural youth and good skin care." She poured some more for herself. "So why are you here?" "Something tells me if you just wanted to catch up, you'd have done it sometime a decade ago? I recall you made it clear you didn't want that, in a pretty explicit way." He defended. "Hidden Swamp will never be the same." She laughed, for a moment. Then her eyes hardened. "Well then? What is it?" "Sarutobi-sensei is dead," he said, bluntly. Her eyes widened imperceptibly. "I see. I'm sorry to hear that, I didn't know." "Then I won't get on your back for not showing up at his funeral." Jiraiya aloud. "You'll never guess who did him in." "Old Scaly?" She guessed. He nodded. "Fuck. Yeah." Tsunade slumped backwards with a sigh. "To be honest, Sensei probably would have preferred it to be one of us. And he died defending the village." Jiraiya nodded. "He wouldn't have wanted it any other way." They shared a brief silence, both nursing their thoughts and their drinks in the other's company. "So, who's next?" Tsunade eventually asked. "Him dying leaves one hell of a power vacuum." "Who's the new Hokage?" Jiraiya coughed and met her eyes. She realized. "No." "Tsunade, no." "Hell no. You're our best shot, like fuck I am." She slammed a fist down on the table. "Who are the other candidates?" "Fugaku Uchiha." "Oh, shit, okay. Who else?" "Kakashi." "Who?" "Exactly. And that's it." "Seriously?" She wrinkled her nose. "What about that?" She snapped her fingers trying to remember. "That Neji kid, he'll be old enough. He betrayed the village." "Shit, really?" "The other one, Itachi, then." "Last I checked, he's in a coma." Jiraiya leaned forwards. "We need you, Tsunade." "No you don't." She waved derisively. "You need some romanticized version of me you have in your head, some badass medical warrior. Not this." She gestured vaguely. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. Trust me, my romanticized version of you does not look like what you're imagining. Pervert. Bitch. Don't think making me laugh convinces me, asshat. I can't do that job. I don't want that job. Yes, you can, and it isn't about what you want. He put both hands on the table. Our village needs a leader, son. Hiruzen would have. Don't you dare use him to blackmail me. She glared right back. All right then. Jiraiya paused. Think about the children, Tsunade. The poor innocent children with their hopeful eyes, youthful innocence, and this is the one you want to be Hokage? Naruto leaned over Jiraiya's shoulder, squinting. She's so old. Tsunade dead-eyed him. Who the fuck is this? Uzumaki Naruto. Future Hokage. He struck a pose, before losing his balance and falling down into the seat next to Jiraiya. I'm here to review the person looking after my hat for me. So far? Not impressed. Naruto, I told you to stay away. Jiraiya twitched. You did, but we decided you were taking too long and not making much progress. Haku walked up, also scrutinizing the newly introduced Sannin as well as the bottle in front of her. I wouldn't have expected a medical ninja to be willing to do this to her body. Do I look like it's affecting me, boy? Tsunade snarled, moving her arms to emphasize her generous figure. That's a transformation jutsu. Haku dismissed, before blinking. Wait, did you just get my gender right? Honey, I'm a medic nin, I know what junk someone's packing. Tsunade tilted her head. You fancy yourself a healer? I'm learning, but I'm better at using the knowledge to kill people. Haku admitted. I can respect that. Tsunade turned back to Naruto. And then there's you. I can sense the kibi in your stomach. Is that your excuse for your disrespect? Oh no, I take full responsibility for my own disrespect. Naruto replied, offended. So when I tell you you look like a saggy old cow, you know that's all me. Jiraiya's head hit the table. Listen here, you little. Tsunade stopped. Then laughed. Nice try, asshole. But you're not goading me into taking the job. She leaned in. Good luck becoming Hokage, punk. Maybe if they put you in charge, that hellhole of a village will finally fall apart. Hey! I'd be a great Hokage. Naruto shot back. I've even learned the Rasengan. Really? Tsunade put one hand on her chest in mock shock. Can you show me? Well, he shifted. I've technically not learned it yet, but I've done the first stage already. Thought so. Tsunade looked down on him smugly. That jutsu took Jiraiya years to learn. By the time you manage it, we'll be on Kage number 20. As if. Naruto pointed dramatically. I'll have mastered this jutsu in a week. Believe it. Sure you will. I will. Sure you will. Bet I will. Bet you won't. Bet I will. Bet you won't. How much? What? How much do you bet? Jiraiya, head still on the table, cracked an eye open. Tsunade glared at Naruto for a long moment. All right, punk, I see what you're doing. Sure thing. If you can master the Rasengan in 5 days, I'll come back and be the Hokage. Hell, I'll even throw in this. She wrapped her fingers around her neck, tugging, and pulled off a necklace with an odd green crystal in it. But if you don't, you all have to leave and never bother me again. Deal? Now hold on, deal. Naruto cut across Jiraiya's interruption, spitting on his palm and holding it out. Amused, Tsunade did the same. They shook. 5 days. Naruto confirmed. And I mean the full 5. None of this midday on the 5th crap that caught me out at the Chunin exams. Of course. Tsunade replied. You made Chunin? Well, no. Ha. Hey, shut up. Jiraiya slumped back in his seat with a sigh. Well, that's us doomed. Hey, bartender. Can we get another bottle of this, please? Training montage number 5 Rasen against time. Day 1. You realize you're doomed, right? Haku was leaned against a tree, watching Naruto. They had vacated the village and found their way to a valley a few miles out. Here was where Naruto would perform a feat that would rank him leagues above one of Konoha's strongest Kage or fall flat on his face. 2 years is what it took Jiraiya to learn the Rasengan. Namake's Minato, the 4th Hokage? One of the strongest Kage ever? 16 months to develop it. And you want to divide that time by about 100? Nah. Naruto shook his jacket off his shoulders, leaving him in his training gear, which was his usual gear, but without his jacket, I'm gonna, multiply it by 3. How? Haku asked. Number 1. Naruto held up a finger, stretching. The 4th and my dad probably didn't spend every second of every day training the Rasengan, they'll have spent most of that time sleeping, working, ninja ing and Hokage ing. So I can catch up a little there. Oka number 2. Naruto put his hands together. I can do this. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. There was a very large puff of smoke. Roughly 80 Naruto appeared in the clearing. Ah. Haku acknowledged, doing the math. That might help a little. All right, suckers. Naruto Prime shouted. You all know what you're doing. Let's get to work. You are a lot more confident about this than you were yesterday evening. Tsunade remarked, strolling alongside Jiraiya. Know something I don't? Tell me, Lady Tsunade. He began, putting on an air of scholarship she'd heard dozens of times throughout their time as a team. She hated it. What do you know about the Shadow Clone Jutsu? Makes tangible copies, splits your chakra, they act like you, and you get the memories back after. She recited. Uncle Tobirama made it, Minato and Hiruzen were big fans. What about it? Naruto uses it all the time. Jiraiya continued. But I've noticed something strange about how his work. You mentioned that they act like you. Care to elaborate? They have your mind. Tsunade shrugged. They know their summons, so they do what you'd want, and they act exactly how you would. True for most people. Jiraiya agreed. Not for Naruto. What? How do you mean? Tsunade would never admit it, but she was genuinely curious. Naruto's clones don't flinch. He explained. They don't care about pain. They don't get bored or lose concentration. They're more precise in taijutsu and have faster reaction times. They don't have any qualms about sacrificing themselves, and they don't make stupid mistakes. Not possible. She dismissed. Shadow clones can't be better than the original by definition, they're an exact copy. Ah, but they aren't better, my dear. Jiraiya replied, grinning cheekily. Allow me to explain. Any normal person, even if they know how to do something like, say, hit a target with a kunai, will still show some variation from throw to throw, and sometimes they'll mess up. Naruto's clones don't do that. They'd hit the target dead center every single time, even when the real version would get it wrong. But that doesn't make any sense. Tsunade tried to recall back when she'd learned the technique. The chakra splitting interfered with her strength of 100 seal, so she never used it. You're saying they can do everything physically and mentally possible for Naruto, even if he doesn't usually manage it. But their brain is a carbon copy of his. They should be indistinguishable. But they aren't. Jiraiya chuckled. If Naruto had learned shadow clones the orthodox way, I imagine his clones would be perfectly normal. But in learning the hardest version of it with zero context from a forbidden scroll, he doesn't have any of the preconceptions the rest of us have. And no offense to the kid, but he isn't smart enough to think about the psychology for himself. Of course my clones don't care about boredom or pain. Of course they don't mess up their hand seals, or get distracted. I might, but why would they? They're clones. The placebo effect. Tsunade realized. Or rather its absence. Whether or not they think they're able, they always do their very best, because why wouldn't they? She looked across at him. I take it your shadow clones don't do this? Nope. Jiraiya shook his head. Still normal. With a few months of mantras, psychology lessons and epiphanies, this might be teachable to your average jonin. Uzumaki Naruto did it accidentally. Tsunade realized she was actually getting interested, and quickly and viciously clamped down on it. Well, so what? She dismissed. He's got 1 or 2 shadow clones that are smarter than usual. That isn't gonna let him. Why are you laughing? Jiraiya was guffawing. He can do a bit more than 2. What, then? 10? Higher. 20? Higher. 50? Over 100 at his max, without the QB. Jiraiya finally relented, grinning from ear to ear. Several hundred, if not 1,000, if he gets angry and draws on it. Tsunade gaped at the sheer amount of power in the boy. Oh. Fuck. Exactly. And he's got 12 years of experience dealing with a QB in his head, which nicely limbers his brain up for getting dozens of different sets of memories at once. You actually think he can do it? Tsunade realized. Then she realized something else. You knew the whole time he'd have a chance. You thought that I'd be more likely to accept the bet if you acted like you hated the idea. Jiraiya, you manipulative bastard. She swung for a punch, he ducked, and then she went in for a grapple. The struggle began, 2 old geezers fighting over nothing in particular. It was just like old times. Day 2. So, why paralysis specifically? Asked Shizune, leading through some of her files. I've had issues with it once or twice. Haku admitted, standing a respectful distance back. Both dealing and receiving. Poison? Tsunade assistant asked. Pressure point trauma. Boo, nasty. The woman heaved down a large folder and dropped it on the table, blowing some dust off the cover. Here are my lady's manuscripts on the subject. Actually, hold on, I should probably get her Tenketsu charts out as well. Haku found Shizune comfortable to be around. She was patient, compassionate, kind, and utterly hopeless in combat. With the exception of his patience, Haku rarely had cause to hang around someone he definitely could kill at a moment's notice, but had no intention to. It was relaxing. He was fucked up. Does Tsunade use these very often? He asked, wiping some more dust off one of the pages. Not really. Shizune sighed. My lady doesn't practice much anymore. Most of it she just knows, and there aren't many cases serious enough for her to pull out the more complex stuff. Occasionally she'll feel guilty enough and heal someone, or she'll feel guilty enough and pull something out to teach me, but a lot of guilt. Haku noted. Yeah, Shizune smiled. If I'm being honest, this is probably the best mood I've seen her in years. Don't tell her I said that. Too late. Shizune winced as Tsunade flicked her on the ear, walking up from behind her. Haku was slightly worried by the way the woman had managed to sneak up on them. You think I'm getting rusty? Shizune, have these doubts always been lurking in the back of your mind? It's fine. Tsunade laughed it off, sitting down next to her and squinting down at the papers. Paralysis, Tenketsu, neurotoxins, Kami, this is a mess. Who wrote this? They must have been drunk. Shizune coughed. You did, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Well, it needs rewriting by someone actually intelligent. And sober. The Sannin looked up. So, little Mr. Androgynous. Haku. Whatever. You wanna learn how to cure this? And cause it. Atta boy. Well, here's what you really need to know. Day 3, we're losing ground. I knew as Sasuke and Hinata, in synchronization, paced around Hinata's living room. Most of the clans whose kids were in our class are in agreement that Dad's an asshole. Sasuke grumbled. But that doesn't mean everyone. Apparently he's making incredibly generous offers to clans that will support his campaign. Of course, once he becomes Hokage he can do whatever he wants and his promises won't mean jack shit. I never realized how many small clans there were until I had to try and account for all of them. Hinata gestured vaguely with her hands. It's like herding cats trying to account for them all. It's like herding Taurus. Sasuke shuddered at the image. Our best opportunities are when all the clans meet, we can talk to all of them at once. But it also gives Dad more opportunities to extol his own virtues, and stress more people out. And obviously, the longer passes without a Hokage people get bored of our shouting, and they get more impatient about a decision. Hinata sighed, and dropped down into a seat to massage her temples. How's Itachi? Still asleep. Sasuke replied. Medic needs say he's stable, but they have no idea how long until he wakes up. I'm sorry. Thank you. They were silent for a time. Where's Naruto's shadow clone? Hinata asked. Researching. Sasuke told her, then, when she made an incredulous look, yeah, I know. Apparently he gets new memories and chakra every hour or so from Naruto Prime and he's pissed off he can't help training, so he's trying to look up useful info in the library. Sasuke paused. He says he feels unstable, like he might just pop at any moment. Kakashi said that could happen, right? A shadow clone's chakra coils will eventually break down. Well, I hope Naruto Prime enjoys the memories of us moping and being stressed. Was that a joke? Perhaps. Hinata smiled slightly. I just hope he comes back soon. Yeah, me too, Hinata. Me too. Itachi saw white. His body was visible, but his surroundings were nothing but a sheer blankness with no shadows, curves or imperfections. He could hear nothing, smell, taste and feel nothing. His internal clock told him it had been over 2 weeks. A civilian, one without Itachi's extensive training in Jinjutsu and mental fortitude, would have gone insane. This is fucking boring. He remarked. Day 4, alright, that will be 12 Ryo. Said the cashier, adding up the total on the machine, then with wide eyes, oh. Looks like you've won our 10,000th customer prize. That gives you 50% off on your next shop. Lucky you. Yeah. Tsunade grit her teeth. Lucky. It was on the way home that it happened. Well, the famous Lady Tsunade relegated to making shopping trips. How the mighty have fallen. Tsunade groaned and turned round. You? Really? Are we going for a full-on Sannin reunion? Orochimaru chuckled, appearing out of the shadows of a nearby building. Oh, is Jiraiya here too? How adorable. I'd pay him a visit, but frankly I'm not certain I'd win in my present condition. Oh. Good. In that case Tsunade dropped her shopping and stalked forwards, cracking her knuckles. Peace, Sonny. The snake Sannin sighed. I'm not here for a fight. Do I care? Tsunade growled. You know I hate that nickname. Also, you murdered the old man. Orochimaru shrugged. A little. He was dying anyway. Old people do that. I'm working on fixing the whole death thing, don't you worry why. The fuck? Are you here? Tsunade deadpanned. Right, of course. Orochimaru grimaced and held his arms out. Tsunade looked at them and grimaced back. Nasty. Quite. He drawled. The arms did look horrible. White skin had turned dark and splotchy and was peeling in places. The old man did this as a parting gift. He used a half-successful Reaper death seal on me, how thoughtful of him. Fix it. No. Please? No. Pretty please? Tsunade shook her head at his sheer audacity. Roki, darling, I have literally zero reason to do that as opposed to splatter your face over that wall. Which I'm about to do in 10 seconds, unless you start talking some sense. I can bring your boyfriend and brother back to life. Tsunade's heart stopped. Started again. Cute. She replied. 5 seconds, and now I'm pissed off. I'm not lying, Tsunade. Orochimaru's gaze was piercing. I can give you both of them. Alive, sane, and in decent enough condition. Aha! She raised an eyebrow. Is this gonna be like that time you said you could revive Jiraiya's dog, and then when you gave it to him it was a brain-dead zombie? Ye of little faith. Orochimaru smiled at her. Rest assured, they'll be real. I have a technique that lets me genuinely call their souls from the other side. They'll be a bit flaky and possibly smelly, but it'll be them. No catch, no conditions. Roki. She said. That's the most incredibly suspicious thing I've ever heard. Oh, but that's what makes it fun. I'd need proof. And I'd give it. I'd need proof you can fix my arms. Well, unless you can find another person who's had the spirit ripped out of their limbs, and that's not an encouragement to do so, then I can't give it. She smiled sweetly. I suppose you'll just have to trust me. Assuming I can trust you first. How about this? Orochimaru offered. We meet tomorrow morning. I bring back one of your beloveds, I'll let you pick which one, and you confirm I've actually done so properly. Then you heal me, and I reanimate the second. Deal? Tsunade thought. Orochimaru stood and smiled. If you betray me, she told him, only one of us will be leaving alive. Orochimaru, the fucking creep, licked his lips. My dear, you know I wouldn't have it any other way. When the old squad gets back together and immediately tries to fucking kill each other. For fuck's sake, Tobirama, where do you even know, where the fuck do you get the ideas to make these things fine? Fine. Sure, okay. Summoning impure world reincarnation. AKA the Edo Tensei. So my brother has deigned to make a technique to bring people back from the dead. Note to self, send brother to therapy sessions. The Edo Tensei directly summons the soul of a deceased person back to the world of the living. It requires a sample of that individual's DNA as a part of the contract, size required is negligible, and a living sacrifice? Toby, what the fuck, ink spilled across the page, fine. Fine. This is perfectly fine. A living person's body is used as a host for the summoned person's spirit. Tobirama has told me that the host will only experience brain death after an extended period as the host, which of course is much better than them immediately dying. Only one person may be reanimated at one time by each caster. Limit increased up to 4. Limit removed entirely. K. The reanimated person has unlimited chakra, but has a chakra capacity limited to a small fraction of their original. They can continue to fight forever, but may be incapable of using certain jutsu, or using them at the magnitudes they could in life. This also means their physical strength and speed will be lower. Chakra capacity now identical to the caster's maximum capacity. Only extremely powerful summons will be at a detriment, most will be improved. K. The resurrected individual will be functionally immortal, as their bodies will regenerate fully even from complete disintegration and they do not die after a time limit, or even after the death of the caster. Kami, Tobirama reanimated ninja, cannot use the reanimation jutsu. Boo! Through use of a separate sealing jutsu, that's also going in the scroll, placed on the sacrifice beforehand, the actions of the summon can be controlled by the caster. Simple commands such as who to attack are currently all that's possible. Control of the reanimate is now possible to any degree. Free will and self-awareness can be altered to any degree, granting a no-strings-attached reincarnation or mindless zombie. The summon can also be piloted directly by the caster. The only known ways to completely defeat a reanimated fighter is to use some form of soul-targeting jutsu, seal them with some fuin jutsu or another, they're technically still alive at that point, just stuck, or to make the caster release the technique. If multiple individuals are reanimated at one time, all will be re-killed at once when the technique is released. Oh, a ninja of sufficient power and constitution, such as an Uzumaki or Senju, may be able to overpower the control of their summoner. This will free them to act as they wish with their newfound immortality, but they still can be dispelled if the caster catches wind of the betrayal. If the ninja being summoned also knows how to perform the Edo Tensei, they will be able to resist being dispelled, freeing themselves entirely should the summoner try to get rid of them. But come on, the only people who know this are me, Tobirama, and Madara. When's that ever gonna come up? Official statement from Hokage Senju Hashirama on storing this technique in the Don't Fuck With These scroll. Notes scribbled by Orochimaru and Yakushi Kabuto. Day 5, the sun was shining, the sky was blue, and absolutely nothing was going to go wrong. Are we sure Jiraiya's here? Naruto asked, leaning over Haku's shoulder. No. Haku sighed, continuing to walk down the road. But this is where he was yesterday evening. He and Tsunade went out for a drink, and since we can't find him anywhere else, it's my best bet. He looked sideways at Naruto. Do you really need to find him? Of course. Naruto Prime is passed out in his room right now. He needs ramen if he wants to have a productive day of training. Haku tried not to show his frustration that, once again, he had been talking to a clone without realizing. You know, you could always spend your own money on food. Or. The clone countered, stopping outside the relevant bar. I could milk Jiraiya for all he's worth given he's promised he'll feed me for the trip. You're impossible. I prefer pragmatic. Where did you even learn that word? Laughing, Haku pushed the door open and paused. Oh hey, there he is. Naruto deadpanned. Jiraiya was slumped on one of the bar stools. Oh, he yours? The bartender remarked, cleaning the tables. Been here all night. Get rid of him, will ya? Bastard's too heavy for me. Haku approached Jiraiya cautiously, scrutinizing his face. He looks like he's been poisoned. The bartender laughed. Oh, you think he's bad? You should see some of the other patrons I know. Haku cut across him, opening one of Jiraiya's eyes and looking at his irises. I think he's literally been poisoned. Oh Kami, what the hell he's been what? Naruto gaped. Haku pulled the drink out of Jiraiya's hand, sniffed it, and wrinkled his nose. Okay, that's definitely been spiked. What the who could have done this? The only one near him all last night was the blonde lady. The bartender remarked, still particularly unconcerned. Damn woman owes me 50 ryo, why would Granny Tsunade poison Jiraiya? Naruto was thoroughly confused. Good question. Haku agreed. More importantly, this is a neuroparalytic. Why would she use a poison she just taught me how to cure? Naruto, I think this might be a message. Couldn't she have just used, I dunno, a message? Tsubusa once gave me instructions by hiding Morse code in his stabs. Mid-battle. Ninja never take the simple option. Haku began fishing around in his pockets for medical supplies. Pop, wake up the real Naruto, and get the rest of the clones to start searching for Tsunade. This might be an emergency. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, and everything was definitely going to go wrong. Good morning, my dear. Orochimaru waved brightly at her. I take it from Jiraiya's condition that you agreed to my proposal? Nasty poison, that, but we both know he has an impressive constitution. Are you sure it was enough? I forgot you were a morning person. Tsunade muttered. Trust me, it's enough. With nobody to heal him, he'll be out until sunset. Come on, Haku. And yes. I agree. They were in some abandoned ruin on the village's outskirts, and her eyes were already scanning for cover, altitude, and that one ninja failing miserably to remain hidden from her. Excellent. Orochimaru replied. I keep to my end of the bargain, Sonny. Who do you want back first? Tsunade had thought long and hard about this one. Dan. She said, voice hoarse. Give me my love back. Boo, controversial. Orochimaru grinned. Hoes before brothers, apparently. You know he's technically 20 or so years younger than you now, right? Just do it. Please. She bit out. Orochimaru shrugged. As you wish. He whistled. The ninja who had been trying poorly to hide took that moment to jump out of cover, landing beside Orochimaru. Lady Tsunade. He greeted, dipping his head. I must say, it's an honor. I'm a big fan of your work. Kabuto here will be performing the technique. Orochimaru explained. Given that I currently lack arms and the capacity for hand seals. Kabuto, go ahead. The young man with obnoxious blue hair nodded and began making a series of hand seals that Tsunade carefully memorized. Impure World Reincarnation Jutsu. He declared. There was a rumble. Black markings spread across the ground and a literal coffin rose up from the dirt. Not to make you feel bad, but I did just kill a guy to make this happen. Orochimaru remarked, picking at his teeth. You what? Tsunade glared. A life for a life. The snake shrugged. Oh, right, this might count as one of those catches I said there weren't any of. My bad. The coffin stopped moving, and its front fell down. Tsunade gasped, audibly. Its occupants stepped out onto open ground, blinking. The fuck? Said Kato-dan. I actually did it. Kabuto said, surprised. Excellently done. Orochimaru congratulated him, watching Tsunade confirm the revival of her lover. And if you ever do it without my permission, I'll feed you to Yugo. I of course, master. Tsunade ran her chakra-cloaked hands across Dan's body, confirming what she had both hoped and feared. It's really you. She managed. The body's not, but it's your chakra, your soul. If the science is inconclusive, you could always ask me questions only I'd know the answer to. He replied, smiling that smile of his. Do you want me to say what happened that night in the forest 6 months ago? Or I suppose it would be years ago by now, that's weird. You ass. She laughed, running in for a hug. He acquiesced, and she buried her face in his chest. I missed you. She mumbled. I know. He replied, equally softly. So what happens now? Now I heal Orochimaru's hands. She admitted. And he brings back my brother. And kills another person? Dan replied, concerned. Tsunade, that's I know. She replied, simply. She stood to her full height, squeezed his hand, and walked back towards Orochimaru. All right. She told him. Amazingly, you've dealt in good faith. Time for me to fulfill my end of the bargain. Arms out. Orochimaru acquiesced, shrugging off the cloak around his shoulders to bare his mutilated limbs to the world. Tsunade began concentrating chakra in her hands, emitting the same blue-green glow as most of her medical techniques. Of course, this one wouldn't do quite what those did. Sorry, Roki. Turns out I'm not quite as morally bankrupt as I thought I was. Damn it. Reaching him, she prepared to lunge forwards, blowing one mighty hole through his chest and splitting his head into several gross pieces, but she froze. Not of her own volition, her body seized up beneath her. I'm sorry, said Dan's voice inside her head. He's controlling me. That chakra buildup was for an attack, said her voice, from her mouth. She betrayed you. Fuck. She thought. Fuck. Spirit transfer jutsu. Yes. I'm so sorry. I didn't even know he was controlling me until you decided to attack him. The spirit transfer jutsu, which allowed Dan to send his actual soul flying out of his body to cover great distances and possess someone, burning up their insides and controlling their movements. It was nigh untraceable, nigh unstoppable, and apparently hurt like a bitch. Ah, how lovely. Orochimaru walked up to her and poked her in the face. Again, I suppose having remote control of your beloved would count as a catch. I'm really sorry, turns out I'm just a dirty liar. She tried to say some very naughty words. She couldn't. He chuckled. Dan? Drop her. I can't have her dying before she fixes me. With a release of tension, she was alone in her body again, and she slumped to the floor. The burning in her innards relented, and she immediately set about trying to regenerate the damage, even as she desperately tried to control her breathing. Orochimaru knelt in front of her. Now look, I'm not great at coming up with the clever threats, that was always your forte, but I am good at cutting off toes. Rest assured you will be fixing my arms. The more prudent question is how long it takes, and what state you're in after you finish. Fuck you, she panted, clenching her fists. That was not on the torture list, I'll admit. Then another voice pervaded the area. Damn right, it would be torture, with someone as obviously neutered as you are. Tsunade smiled. Orochimaru glowered. One-liners. He hissed, standing up to face the red-clad man on top of a nearby tower. Jiraiya! Which was when Tsunade jumped to her feet and punched Dan in the face. Naruto jumped in with a war cry that went something like "Hya, ah?" Jiraiya had gone ahead, made an awesome cool joke, and immediately launched into combat with Orochimaru, who was here, apparently. Sure. But so was Kabuto, which was weird, and also some other blue-haired guy that Tsunade has just disintegrated. Oh god, I picked a fight with this lady? What looked like paper or dust flew out of him, his lower half flying away as his top half blew into pieces. You. With no idea what was going on, Naruto sprung into action. Him and the few dozen shadow clones that he'd kept active charged over arches, through buildings and out of windows, each picking a target and homing in. Haku was with him and immediately flipped over Kabuto, throwing a set of Senbon. Kabuto dodged with relative ease, before catching a punch from the Kyuubi host. Weren't you in the Chunin exams? Why are you here? Naruto growled. I was a spy. Kabuto replied, casually. Oh, then Naruto twisted and punched, dislocating Kabuto's shoulder. The nasty treacherous bastard kicked him away, before rolling past another few Senbon and blurring into close range with Haku, his shoulder mending itself worryingly quickly. That was when Naruto got some peculiar memories. Of course, any shadow clones that went near Orochimaru died almost accidentally. The three Sannin were having a battle Naruto could barely keep track of, but the obviously crippled Snake Man seemed to be on the back foot against his two healthy adversaries. Naruto was not expecting to find Mr. Blue Hair No. 2 alive after Tsunade's Falcon Punch, nor destroying his clones with ruthless efficiency. He left Kabuto to Haku, and went in to investigate. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, and Orochimaru was having an unexpectedly horrible day. He knew he couldn't beat Tsunade and Jiraiya in his current state, but he shouldn't have had to. He prided himself on his ability to manipulate events to his favor, to the point where even a superior fighting force would find themselves picked apart and shattered. That should have been the case here, but something about that boy with the yellow hair seemed to smash his plans apart with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. So here he was, in a fight he couldn't win. He sighed, even as he twisted away from a wall-shattering punch from Tsunade and opened his mouth to launch his blade towards Jiraiya. Igon Shakashwi Kalkalpjas Auk? He tried to ask. Stop gargling swords, asshole. Tsunade yelled at him. He, gargling swords. Jiraiya laughed. Oh, for fuck's sake. Orochimaru hadn't wanted to do this, but he was in genuine danger here. He jumped back and landed in a very particular stance. That was the signal for Kimimaro, much better hidden than the decoy Kabuto had been, to appear from the bushes and enter the fray. A hail of bone bullets forced Jiraiya to put up a mud wall, and Kimimaro jumped over it with ivory blades in his hands, dropping down in front of Tsunade and slashing. Jiraiya turned to help, but was quickly intercepted by a snake that flew at him from the opposite direction. Eyes on me, Jiraiya. Orochimaru tooted. He saw the surprise in the eyes of his two opponents and grinned, knowing that the Kagaya clan heir had likely been reported dead by Itachi. But Kimimaro was very much alive, and was now engaging Tsunade in a taijutsu brawl. Joined a second later by Kabuto, the two prodigies working together were able to press the female Sannin, leaving Orochimaru alone with Jiraiya. Perfect. Much more manageable. Do you know how long I've wanted to do this? Orochimaru told him, drawing his sword from his gullet again. We get it, Roki. Jiraiya panted. You really want to penetrate me with your sword. Orochimaru rolled his eyes and attacked. 1 minute earlier, Naruto came face to face with the blue-haired ninja and grimaced. EW. You are ugly. He ran forwards and punched. The reanimated ninja let it land, and Naruto's genuinely powerful strike was able to punch a hole through his midriff. Oh, hi there. The man said. Kato Dan. You'll be a Konoha genin then? Always good to see members of the new generation. Naruto walked backwards, wary, as the wound in Kato's chest repaired itself in seconds. At a gesture, more shadow clones tried to dogpile the Edonin, but he pulled a kunai and dispatched them with relative ease, eyes focusing instead on Naruto's neck. Oh. Is that Tsunade's necklace? What? Said Naruto Prime, looking down. Oh, yeah. She betted on me mastering a really hard technique, and I said that since I was guaranteed to win, which I am, she should leave it with me for the training. Dan laughed easily, even as his body moved to continually destroy the shadow clones coming after him. And I'm sure she was incredibly casual about it, too. What's your name, kid? Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto, Tsunade has only given that necklace to 2 other people. Myself and her brother. We both died, oh. But the primary reason she gives it out is because she believes the wearer is a true inheritor to the will of fire, and that they're a good example of what she thinks a ninja should be. Dan tilted his head. I don't suppose you have any dramatic goals for the damn right. Naruto struck a pose. I'm going to become the Hokage. Perfect. Dan chuckled. You'll do. Just don't die. I'll try. I'm going to try and kill you now. Mind control, you know. No, it's cool. Dan put his hands together. This is my ridiculously overpowered technique. My spirit flies through the air, controls you, and kills you from the inside. Try not to let it hit you. Then a ghost popped out of Dan's body. Glad this still works. He mused, before flying straight for a shadow clone. His spirit entered it, and almost immediately it popped. He blinked, shrugged, and beelined for another clone. Naruto gulped as his entire armed forces was destroyed at lightning speeds. Haku! He shouted. Little help? Haku disengaged from his brawl with Kabuto and ran over to Naruto's position, allowing Orochimaru's henchmen to go help his boss against Tsunade. Demonic ice mirrors! Haku cried, summoning his signature technique around Dan's ghost only for it to fly straight through them. One day I'll use that and it'll actually work. Haku grimaced. Dan's spirit quickly changed direction for Haku, who launched a barrage of large ice spikes at his undead body. They all landed, but the corpse just regenerated the holes. Being invincible removed one of the spirit transfer's only weaknesses, the user's death if their unconscious body was found. Haku jumped away, but Dan's ghost was faster, blasting in to possess him. Crap. Thought Naruto. Not good. Need a way to restrain his he stretched out his arms. Dan was less than a meter from Haku when golden chains wrapped around his ghost, halting it in place. And Naruto? Gasped Haku, looking around Dan's suspended form. The green glow around him dimmed. They counter chakra. Right? Shouted Naruto, heels digging into the grass beneath him. Figured this would work. He pulled, and Dan went hurtling, as Naruto spun him in a wide circle and then slammed him into a ruin wall. The impact, combined with the chain's disruptive influence, caused Dan's form to shatter into particles. His Edo body jerked back into wakefulness with wide eyes. That's a first, he remarked. Naruto summoned some more clones, standing ready beside Haku. We're running out of time. The once missing Nin hissed at him. Glancing off, Naruto saw that Jiraiya had summoned Gamabunta, and Orochimaru had responded with a snake even bigger than Big Toothy. To Naruto's horror, Jiraiya was losing. Tsunade was trying to get in to help, but her two opponents were trapping her in taijutsu and wouldn't let her intervene. Agreed. Naruto growled. We need to stop Dan and take the pressure off Granny. Across from them, Dan put a finger to his temple and scratched. Weird, that technique doesn't seem very effective. But it still counts as trying to kill you, so he winked at them and put his hands back together. Naruto, struck by inspiration, shuffled behind Haku and grabbed his hands. Do the ice mirrors. Haku blushed, suddenly very distracted. What? Ice mirrors. I have a plan. Now. Naruto scrunched his eyes up and concentrated. Dan flew free of his body, changing straight for them. Haku, hands interlaced with Naruto's, began charging up his chakra. Naruto reached deep inside himself. He had been practicing with the chains, and had realized that they were made up with a different type of chakra than normal techniques. They weren't yin, yang, or elemental, so kinda like the Rasengan, but even compared to that they were different on some level he got instinctively but didn't understand. But that meant they weren't a set technique, per se, which meant logically they could have different what was the word applications. So as Dan's form hurtled towards them, Naruto poured his adamantane chakra, trademark, into Haku. Haku gasped, but went with it, finishing his ice technique and centering it on Dan. The result? The ice mirrors fucking glowed. Inlaid with gold filigree, they emitted a healthy golden light, and the gaps between the barriers were criss-crossed with further chains. Dan's spirit slammed into the mirrors and bounced backwards, before launching himself up, down, left and right. He couldn't escape. He was trapped. Woo! Naruto shouted, patting Haku on the shoulder. Good job. You just Haku stumbled, before shaking his head. I'm good. Now what? A few of Naruto's clones moved to reinforce the prison with further chains, while Naruto Prime turned to the larger fight going on to their left. Now, we make another miracle. He held his arm out. A clone came up, and pointed its own hands towards his. Haku's eyes widened. You want to Naruto, you haven't mastered it yet. Yeah, but you see Naruto flexed his hand. Chakra began to build up. I'm not a normal ninja, Haku. I'm an action hero ninja. So when I need a dramatic mid-battle power-up, he flashed a smile. You can bet I'm damn well gonna get one. The chakra in his hand solidified into a sphere, and he charged forwards. Tsunade was so surprised that she almost let herself get impaled. The little shit actually did it. The bony one had noticed as well, and was entirely capable of evading the attack of the approaching 12-year-old. But Kabuto, while exceedingly talented, was not as experienced with taijutsu as he was with medical ninjutsu, and had made a rookie mistake. He was too caught up in the fight. Feigning desperation, she launched into a reckless flurry against Bony McBoneface, leaving herself completely exposed. Kabuto grinned, moving in to take advantage, then arched his back and howled, as with a cry of Rasengan. Naruto plowed the spinning blue orb into his back. Left alone with McBoneface, Tsunade was able to quickly dismantle his technique and issue a punch to his stomach that sent him flying backwards a few dozen meters, before biting her finger and putting it to the ground. Summoning Jutsu. Katsuya. With a bang, the head slug appeared, just in time to intercept a killing blow from Manda aimed at Gamabunta. Orochimaru glared at them from atop his perch. Down on the ground, Tsunade walked back and pulled up Kabuto by the scruff of his neck. He was panting and bleeding profusely. Cute self-healing. She remarked. But I've seen Jiraiya use the Rasengan. It royally fucks up your insides. You won't be able to stabilize yourself without proper equipment or experienced help. He glared at her. She put a fist to his head. Undo the reanimation and I'll heal you. Or don't, and I blow your brains out. Orochimaru flopped onto his back on Manda's head. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. Jiraiya, atop Gamabunta, was grinning from ear to ear. See that? He pointed down to Tsunade. Now that's my girl.
Thank you for your views, likes, subscriptions, and overall support of my ongoing efforts to bring great content to all of you. Check out my Patreon for more mature fanfiction. The link is in the description and everywhere on my channel.